Recently, I made a video on the top 5 openings to play as white, and I mentioned the Colle system. Some people in the comments asked me to talk about the Colle Zukertort system, and luckily, I also play this variation. And what's great about the Colle system and the Colle Zukertort system is that it's very beginner friendly, so you don't have to worry so much about memorizing a ton of variations. And not only that, it works very nicely at high levels too, so you see a lot of grandmasters playing it as well. And today we're going to analyze a game played between Hikaru and Alireza, and Hikaru simply crushed Alireza with this opening. So we're talking about two super grandmasters, one of the highest rated players of the recent times. So this is extremely solid, even up to this level. But before we begin, if you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please click the button down below and subscribe to the channel for more. I'm Victor, this is What the Fork Chess, and I post videos pretty much every day on chess tips for improvement. When we start talking about the Colle system or the Colle Zukertort system, we gotta have, since it's a system opening, we gotta have more or less an idea of where our pieces go. And if you have this idea about where your pieces belong, you can basically play this opening without any problems, because you don't have to memorize that many variations, and you can go for your setup regardless of what your opponent does. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with d4, and then you can follow by playing e6 and knight to f3. The idea here, e3, sorry, I said e6, e3 and knight to f6 here, f3 here, and then you can castle right away, but there are some other move orders that you can go for. And the biggest difference between the Colle system and the Colle Zukertort system is that you're going to play this move c3 in the Colle system, and in the Colle Zukertort variation you're going to play b3 so you can fianchetto your bishop. That's the main difference. Your knights belong to the same squares, your bishop belongs to the same square, your pawns are going to be in this formation, and then you're going to castle kingside. But the biggest difference here is that you're going to push b3 and then fianchetto your bishop, instead of keeping your bishop here on the starting square of c1 and pushing c3 to later maybe unleash this bishop. So the idea here is to keep this bishop fianchettoed so you can have a long diagonal pressure here against black defenses. All right, so that being said, let's take a look at this game. It's an example game played here that I played by Hikaru Nakamura against Alireza in 2020 on a rapid tournament. So Hikaru played the Colle Zukertort system. We start with d4. Alireza played knight f6. This can also be played if your opponent go for this move or this move. Doesn't really matter very much, the move order, as long as you reach your setup and you're aiming for that piece setup that we talked about. You're going to play e3. You can develop your bishop and then castle, and then you can play this move and you can fianchetto your bishop. That's pretty much what you're going to do here. So here Nakamura played knight f3, and after d5 e3 we have our basic setup. We can say that this is the starting position of the Colle system. We still don't know if we're going for the normal Colle system or the Colle Zukertort system where we fianchetto the bishop, but in either case, you can go for each of the setups. They have slightly different ideas. Since you have the bishop here, the idea sometimes is to bring this bishop to the king side, and having the bishop here is going to have pressure on this knight sometime in the future. And the idea sometimes is to just sacrifice the bishop for the knight so you can eliminate this very powerful defender of the h7 square. And we tend to go for some attacks here on this square and try to checkmate on h7. So e6 was played, and then b3 right away. Sometimes we wait for our opponent to go here and then we play this, or c3 here. But in this case, Nakamura just played b3 right away. And after bishop to e7, he fianchettoed the bishop on b2. So this was very, very quick. Now he can develop the pieces according to the idea of the Colle Zukertort, like I showed you in the previous setup. Just keep in mind where your pieces go. If you just have in mind the squares where your pieces belong to, you're not going to have too many issues playing this opening. So far, nothing crazy about this game. Black castled, bishop d3 is to be expected. e6 here, maybe black's trying to fianchetto as well, or maybe trying to push some pawns on the queen side. Here white castled and bishop b7 was played, fianchettoing the bishop, knight b to d2. So now we have the knight where it belongs, and our setup is complete. You see that super grandmaster, 2800 nowadays. Back in the day, he was probably 2750 or whatever, but he's still like 2800, top 2, top 3 of the world. He played the exact same setup that I showed in the previous part of the video. So they are going simply for the same setup. And you can do that in your games as well. And from here, you can develop your attack, right? So some of the ideas are to just push this pawn. The knight is protecting it and it's favoring this advancement of the pawn here. So this is an idea. Or you can maybe wait for your opponent to start doing something, and then you can counterattack. The idea is to give your opponent the opportunity to make a mistake. And here, Firouzja played c5. A little bit premature, some would say, but it's a good move, and it's to be expected. Now, the fight against actually starts on the queen side. a3 was played, and after knight c6, white actually takes the pawn on c5, and after recaptures, c4 was played, and you can see that now there's some pressure going on. a5 was played. We see that all the action on the queen side so far, but it's going to shift to the king side at a moment's notice, because you can see that these two bishops are aiming at the king side here. The potential sacrifice, not a sacrifice, but exchange here will remove the defender of h7, favoring some possible checkmate threats here. This queen can join the party very quickly as well. So this is looking to be a queenside battle, but it's going to shift to the other side of the board very quickly. And this is one of the strategies behind the Colle Zukertort. You have your bishop here aiming at the king side, and your other bishop doing the same thing. This knight can jump very quickly if there's the possibility to do that. And this queen can also join the party very quickly if this knight is, of course, is not here and giving that possibility. So white took here, removing this pawn from the center of the board. Another pawn takes, and then queen to c2. Now we have this kind of battery going on here, and the bishop is aiming at h7 with the support of the queen, right? So this move was played a4, and you can see that there are two moves here, and I analyzed another possibility. For example, taking with the bishop here, which was not what was played. And if you take, black takes, and you can sacrifice the bishop over there, and this is something that wins a little bit of material, right? So this is a possibility. But Nakamura was playing for a bigger win here. So he played rook a to d1. Now this is an open file, half open file, of course, not open file. They still have a pawn here. And this seems like it's just giving away some more space for black on the queen side, but it's not actually true. The knight takes back, and after queen to b6, white simply ignores everything here that's going on the queen side and starting to shift to the king side, first by eliminating this key defender here on h7. At the first moment he had the opportunity to do that, he did that, which is, as this queen leaves this square, it's not supporting this knight anymore. So there's just one defender for it. Of course, there's the pawn, but black's not going to take with the pawn. In this case, they took with the pawn, right? So this is actually a problem, because it's opening up this avenue for white to attack this king. So taking with either piece here is actually pretty bad. So black took with the pawn, and white sacrificed the bishop on h7. Here, there's not much that black can do, right? They can't take this bishop over here because it's supported by the queen. And we have threats of maybe jumping with this knight, and things are looking very bad here for black, and black's going to resign in a couple moves. King to h8 was played here, not too many options. Knight to h4, trying to bring this knight to the game as well. And that's exactly what, this maneuver, exactly what was done to start some attack on the king side. Rook takes a3 was played, and then queen to e2, and checkmate is pretty much unavoidable here. You can bring your queen, and things are looking very, very bad here for black. And checkmate is pretty much forced here, according to the computer. So that's the power of the Colle Zukertort system. You can play it even if you are a beginner, and you can also play it if you are, so it's suitable for all levels, right? You can play it if you are a high level player as well, because it's a very solid opening. You have your pawns in a very solid position, and you can develop your pieces very easily. And you can play pretty much these 8 first moves regardless of what your opponent does. Unless they do something really crazy, then you have to change your plans a little bit, but this is a very solid opening and you don't have to memorize that many things. That's why it's one of my, for sure, one of the best picks in my opinion if you are playing d4. For sure, Colle system or Colle Zukertort system are one of the best choices. If you like this video, please remember to leave a like. Also, leave a comment down below, give me some suggestions for the next videos, and don't forget to subscribe as well. And thank you for watching, and I see you as always in the next video.